If we look at virtual reality as the future, it means physical spaces will be actually obsolete. Because within virtual reality, you can fly and learn how birds are flying while flying next to the birds. So as I see it, there'll be like watery containers where people will put some sort of physical hibernation while their minds are floating somewhere in space.
The new classroom need rethinking and re-inviting because it was originally created in the industrial area to teach children how to be good workers. And right now, for the last decades, this is not what we're looking for. We need to create a space that will allow them to find different kinds of learning, whether it's in a small group, whether it's in a big group, whether it's one-on-one, or to move around and find different kind of settings all through the year, or through the months, or even all through one class, when you don't just sit and get knowledge just on a one-way street, but you can collaborate and find different ways of doing that. Technology, of course, has a big role in the way that we allow ourselves to be more free-minded. With Wi-Fi and with the mobility, we can allow ourselves to be free and to learn in different kinds of settings. Everything doesn't have to be in a certain place, in a certain way, with a certain setup. We just need to create the infrastructure that will allow us to move around and do different kind of things. As an architect, the real project starts once you give away the keys, set them free. Then when your main idea is mobility and flexibility, you also need to accept the fact that they're going to do it completely different than what you thought, and that's great. You created like a playground that you can find your own way, and there are some kids that this is good for them, some that other things, and maybe during 9 a.m. this is great, and at 2 in the afternoon you need a different settings, and then you modify a bit, and that's once you preach flexibility, that's what you need to do.
We were working on this project in 2019 in a university in Glasgow. And this was before the pandemic. And most of the requests were to ensure that we have the right density and the number of people in the classroom. There was this huge pressure on ensuring that we have a lot of students in the large amphitheaters, in the large lecture halls. And when the pandemic hit and the entire campus shut down, students moved abruptly to learning online. And what they realized was that the initial designs that we had for them, for their learning and teaching space, were in fact less flexible and less optimized for this new hybrid model of learning. When they were allowed to open again, we were asked, can you help us reconfigure the space? And we were able to do this because most of our solutions were modular and flexible, and in the initial designs we did take this into consideration to make sure that furniture can be easily moved around by facility and even by teachers and students. But the biggest shock that they had was to actually see that when students were able to return to the campus, they weren't going for those large lecture halls. They were in fact choosing spaces like the open areas where students and teachers could meet, peer-to-peer learnings, different soft corners. And this was actually the biggest aha moment for them and the happiest moment for us, because it was in that moment when we finally ended up seeing that everything we preached about. Our products have always supported how people learn. Our first product, Note, was designed to support a new active way of learning. And from the latest products, the Steelcase Flex collection is one of those products that can really allow you to move from one configuration to another very easily. Shortcut is another great example. Verb with the whiteboards.
The big project that we did with Steelcase in Ramat Gan in Israel, we had like a big group of educational experts that created a new program for a new way of learning, of getting integrated with the community around. Here we started with a really thick layer of innovative educational program that we added the engineering and the architecture on it, and then the interior design it on top of it. Big learning curve, not just as architects, but as a system as an educational environment, as a society, because it's also different for parents to see the classroom like this. So it's a process.
We have to be very efficient and very clever and very innovative within the spaces we design and build. So when you ask me, how would a classroom and a business space working together look like, I would answer, it's what we try to do today, because we have no other option. As much as we want to be flexible, agile, all the things people are talking about in the past decade, we're still in the field of architecture and buildings. We still have to build from concrete and cement. You can't move those walls even if you want to. There's a limit to what you can do within the current technologies of buildings. So most of your options, to be honest, counts in furniture. You can be as bright as you want, making spaces, can move as much as they can, but it's still concrete. Technology changes so rapidly, we cannot keep up with it. And it's not only technology, it's the way we conceive educational environments. It changes. What happened before is not what's happening now. We used to have educational spaces, we used to be all about enabling knowledge, teaching. Today we don't need teaching of knowledge. Knowledge is all around us. The kids know most of the time better than the teacher. So the aspects of education are changing as we speak. We need rows as much as we need groups. We need personalized spaces as much as we need communal spaces. Looking at the future and what the future will need, which of course we do not know, but at the same page, we need to address current issues, right? Because as if today, all of the systems are still very, very conservative, right? You can make a great classroom with things going out of the walls and everything is floating in the air, but still the teacher there, he or she was being taught to be a teacher 40 years ago. You need to address that as well. So we're in a phase where things are changing, but not completed yet. On the one hand, I'm seeing a place where this virtual reality get the most emphasis. On the other hand, we're still human beings. We cannot be adjusted to the virtual reality. We will always have to have these interactions. Otherwise, it will be dystopian movies. I think those will be the two extremes. Partying like hell physically and floating in space, learning about quantum physics, looking at atoms in the virtual reality. But yeah, it won't be only one or the other. It cannot be only one or the other, as I see it now.